Today, in episode 269 of Nos Cambiaron los Muñequitos.
We only get to do this journey one time, and being able to really enjoy the journey and what do we bring to the quality of someone else's experience of life? Is it all about me, or is it about others? And I think that when we can get the focus off of our mirror and we can place that on others, then we're going to make an impact in the world that can truly, truly make an impact that makes an impact that makes an impact, and it goes on.
My name is Cristóbal Colón, and this is Nos Cambiaron los Muñequitos.
Nos cambiaron los muñequitos.
Nos cambiaron los muñequitos.
Nos cambiaron los muñequitos. Nos cambiaron
los muñequitos.
Nos cambiaron los muñequitos.
Thank you for joining us in this new episode of Nos Cambiaron los Muñequitos. We want to inspire and help you deal with change with one story, one conversation in each episode. Y si te sorprende escuchar el inicio de este episodio en inglés, pues quiero aclararte que la conversación completa en este episodio es en inglés. Si no se te hace fácil el idioma, te sugiero que busques en las notas de este episodio el enlace a la entrevista en YouTube con subtítulos en español. And if you're a little confused about listening to the previous paragraph, it means that this is the first time that you've listened to this podcast. And yes, almost 99% of all the episodes in this podcast are in Spanish. But for this one, I had the great opportunity to have a conversation with an amazing guest, so I got out of my comfort zone for this episode. There is power in words. What you say is what you get. These are the words of Zig Ziglar, famous American author and motivational speaker. And today I want to share it with you a second quote. Words saturated with sincerity, conviction, faith, and intuition are like highly explosive vibration bombs, which, when set off, shatter the rocks of difficulties and create the change desired. These are the words of Paramahansa Yogananda, Hindu monk, yogi, and guru, author of Autobiography of a Yogi. And today we will talk about the power of spoken words and thoughts. Let me introduce you to today's episode guest, Angela Lightfoot Redondo. Angela is a certified happiness coach, NLP master practitioner, hypnotherapist, yoga instructor, and many other things. Also, she is a friend and fellow Toastmasters. This is episode 269, and we're having a conversation with Angela Lightfoot Redondo. So, this is, let me tell you, I think this is a payback interview. Because normally, you're always trying to speak Spanish, and you feel the burden of trying to get to be understood in your Spanish. And now it's payback. Now I'm trying to speak to you and have a conversation in English.
Wow.
So it's your time. It's your time now to shine, and my turn to make mistakes.
Bueno.
How are you doing, Angela?
I'm super. And if I had the opportunity para explicarme en español como tú explicas en inglés, wow, I'm set.
No, but it's okay.
You.
I'm trying. I think that not everyone in my audience, but a great part of my audience, they understand English. So, and also a lot of people understand it. The big challenge is to try to speak, to say things in English. Like my wife, it's like that. She understands everything, but she doesn't want to speak. So I'm trying to move more into having conversations in English because there are some amazing guests that I would like to have a conversation, but they don't speak Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, no, I'm gonna try to do it. So I'll. A couple of weeks ago, I had a conversation with Dr. Avi Maroño. It's amazing. She's a mentee. I don't know, Joe Navarro. I don't know if you know him.
Yes.
Joe Navarro is an expert on body language and nonverbal communication. He's an ex-FBI agent, and he's very well known. And Avi Maroño, she's a doctor from UK, United Kingdom, and she became like its mentee. So I had a conversation with Joe Navarro and said, well, I would like to go back to talk about those things. And I had a conversation with Avi Maroño. Even though her last name is Maroño, she doesn't speak Spanish. So if it's a great conversation, I'm going to try to do my best to do it in English, to have the chance of bringing this knowledge and sharing with the audience. So, Angela.
I'm grateful that you are speaking in English. And
Angela, your last name is Lightfoot.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't sound Spanish. It sounds like maybe like Native American.
It is.
Where are you from? Where were you born?
So I was born in Texas.
Okay.
And my last name is with a T at the end, because sometimes people actually say Lightfoot, and I thought that's convenient. But the reality is it's Lightfoot. Uh-huh. And yeah, that is American Indian descent. And I am from a Choctaw Cherokee tribe.
Okay. And now if you've seen Angela on her social media posts, now I understand a lot of things. I've seen you with horses, and you're coming from Texas. So
I began knowing horses and doing horses. That was really my replacement for dolls. I was the horse girl.
That's a big step from dolls to horses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you were born in Texas, and when you were a little kid, what do you said that you wanted to become when you were grown up?
Wow. So I used to absolutely dream that I was an actress. Now, it didn't need to be acting as in on a stage. It was, I acted in everything. My dad would bring home these beautiful bolts of like textiles.
Okay.
And so my sister and we would wrap ourselves very, very Arabic, and we would become these characters and in everything. So acting was a way really that we had fun in our family time, to be able to have dinner and a show, and my sister and I and my brother were the main characters. So acting. Okay.
So when you got older, and there was a time for you to choose what to go, if you wanted to go to college or go to university and study something. What was it that if you choose to study, where do you go into university, and what do you study?
Yeah. So in the very beginning, I was in college, I was in high school, actually. I was in a home economics class.
Okay.
And this amazing seamstress looked at me and said, wow, Angie, your pattern is like sewn backwards. Like, let's rip this one out and let's start again.
Okay.
And what she noticed about me is she was like, you need to study play therapy.
Okay.
You're very, very creative, and I think that when you communicate, you can really take people into having an experience of life. So as I was ripping out my apron,
okay,
I really owned that And then I started saying, well, how do I do it? So I knew I needed to study a little bit of psychology. And I started in the realm of speech pathology, child psychology.
Okay.
So I first went to Texas Tech, and that wasn't my best match. And I came back and went to Stephen F. Austin, and that's in Nacogdoches, Texas. And it was an incredible school to be able to work with special needs and to be able to learn sign language and to be able to do help people with resources from blind to any special needs, to be able to create a space that others could play, communicate, and learn.
Yeah. When I was 16 years old, a counselor, I think I was like a counselor from a university, went into our school to talk about the university offerings, the different programs. And when he listed all the programs, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and at that time when computers were very little known at that time, and when he said the salary of a computer engineer, I said, I want to do that just because of the salary. I didn't know what was it. And the thing is that when I started working,
DOS was around, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So when I became a computer engineer, but I made the choice just out of a salary, the promise of a salary, of good money. And years later, I was always trying to look forward when I was going to get out of it. So when you finish college, do you started working on that? And how was the experience working on that, if it's so?
Well, since I was very playful, when I got out of college, I had taken a course in scuba diving.
Okay.
And I said, oh my gosh, I want to experience this. So I went to St. Thomas and I moved to the Virgin Islands. And
it was after you finished college. Okay.
I moved to the Virgin Islands, and my mom used to watch Tarzan movies. So she was like, I've lost my daughter to the jungle, The reality is that...
the Johnny Weissmuller movies, that he was a Olympic swimmer. So
yeah.
That's why she said that.
That was it. It was Tarzan. She's like, no, here we go. She's gone. And what I found is that everything that I learned in school, I started taking people on dives. And as I was taking them diving, I also said, well, I'm enjoying this so much.
So you were doing diving,
scuba diving,
earning money out of being like a dive master?
Yeah. So I went to work for this guy. He's amazing. His name was Jimmy Loveland. He was brought down from the Rockefellers to develop the marlin fishing tournaments in St. Thomas.
Okay.
And so I had that privilege to work with him and to be able to go on the fishing tours and be that one that calls fish on and tag and release, and then go diving and train stingrays and swim and do everything that I love to do. And then that went into giving tours around the island, and then that went in to developing children's camps for mom and dad's days out.
Okay.
So play therapy.
How old were you at that time?
I was 22.
Okay.
A baby. And
okay. So, but how long were you were doing that scuba diving thing?
Yeah. Well, for quite a bit. So that was around 5 or 6 years. And at the same time, because in the islands you can wear many, many, many hats. And so I guess around 6 years, and then I started developing the kids camps.
Okay.
And working with kids and having like hermit crab races and iguana races. And I started creating a full fun parents' day out, and their kids would come and hang out with me and play therapy once again. So I
never would imagine that about you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So you said that you were there for 5 or 6 years doing that, and after that, what you got bored of that, or you wanted to do something else? What happened next?
Not bored at all. So around, let's see, what year? I'll tell a cute story before I go there. But Hurricane Hugo came to the island, and when it came through the island, it just
It was
ripped.
1989.
1989 September, I think, around 29th. Something. It was late, and so it destroyed the island. And meanwhile, also, I had a relationship that was a super toxic relationship.
Okay.
And in that relationship and in the hurricane, there was not only a hurricane raging on the outside, there was a hurricane raging on the inside of me.
Yes.
And that was when I knew that I had to do something different and discover a new way. So that time frame was also right around, there was 2 movies. There was a movie called Weekend at Bernie's 2. I'm in it.
Yeah.
And so I'm in that movie, and I was also being a little...
You were on that movie?
Yeah.
You did a small role?
So we were doing these small roles, and I was a diver, and then I was the lady in the submarine. Okay, so I was the diver on the outside. I have to go back and check that movie out again. You'll see me in little bitty places because they did a full movie. And then the main character actress, she had some emotional problems, and she had a break. And they had to bring in another actress. And meanwhile, I had already started taking some decisions that I think that I need to do something else. And I had already started coming over to Puerto Rico. Okay. And I was doing a business that I had started in the pool with this equipment. It was a water equipment. It was called Hydrotone. And so I didn't go... It
was just a physical fitness...
It's absolutely incredible. It's these handbells for your hands, and it's these things for your feet. And I would go in, and I made up this program called Catch a Wave and Jump In. And so I had this little van with all my equipment, and I would take it from here to there, and I would drive up to a resort, and I would give these exercises. And
that was in Puerto Rico.
And that was in St. Thomas it started, and then I came to Puerto Rico, which I trained the Albergue Olímpico,
Albergue Olímpico.
I was in Imagen magazine with my swimming thing. So I started this whole new movement. It was called Catch a Wave. So,
and let me ask you something. Now that I see your lifestyle, you were a big fan of Jimmy Buffett?
It wasn't so much as Wasted Away in Margaritaville. But it was more like, we are the people our parents warned us about. It was like, we are the people. There isn't any doubt. Yep. They were, So truly, I loved adventure. Okay. And I absolutely love fun.
Okay, so you consider yourself a parrot head?
I am. I have never actually been to a Jimmy Buffett concert. However, I did hear a rumor by my Jimmy Loveland that I used to work for that there was a possibility that he was in one of the dinghies that brought me and my girlfriend to another boat. Rumor has it.
Okay. So...
to another boat to drop us off at our boat. Okay. Let's be clean.
But in St. Thomas, I think, most of the people speak English, but when you moved to Puerto Rico, that was your first meeting with this big challenge with Spanish language, or what? How was it?
Yeah. So I did have just a tidbit in Texas for my grandfather. My mother's father, he had a lot of people that would work in farms with potatoes, and we would actually, I learned from Mexico, we'd always be going back and forth too. So right on the border. So I learned some basic words, but seriously, hola, ¿cómo tú estás? And no, when I moved to Puerto Rico, I was fortunate because I went to the Condado Plaza. And I met this girl that is still one of my very best friends, and her name was Christine Del Monte, and her family and her husband. That's where I learned about arroz con pollo, and I learned like café con leche. I started learning mofongo and all of it. He was Cuban, so she knew how to like cook some things, and she was also an American.
Okay.
So however, spoke excellent Spanish, so challenged me, and I have a good vocabulary in Spanish through the years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking.
when you moved to Puerto Rico, that was at that time. That was definitely, or you moved to another place, or you have stayed here since then.
So when I moved to Puerto Rico, I had plans just to. That's it. I loved the tropics. I loved the Caribbean, and I knew that I was transplanted. I felt home. So although through time, this is like way about 5 years before I'd met my husband. And so I started living the culture, understanding more and more the culture, and made some really dear, awesome friends. And I did move afterwards, but after my children were born, we moved back to the States. But I lived in Puerto Rico from after Hugo, which was in 89.
89, yeah.
So 89 until like, I know exactly when I moved. I moved September 11th what was that, 1990, when the Twin Towers,
2001, I think.
2001.
Yeah.
So I lived until 2001 in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Yeah. Teaching scuba. Also, I had a coffee business called Gloria Jeans. It was the first coffee franchise before Starbucks, before everything. And it was in San Patricio Plaza. Yeah, because my husband didn't want me hitting the road and traveling and going all the places. But yeah.
Okay. So right now, I see your life and it looks like perfect.
No.
Like a lot of people say, I would love to live in a tropical island and do something, scuba diving or swimming, things like that. It looks like an ideal life.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I know what you're doing, that you do a lot of things, coaching and NLP and a lot of things, I've seen a lot of people that get into that because at the beginning they needed that in their lives.
Absolutely.
A lot of people that are coaches, they just at some point their lives were in a situation that they needed coaching, and they used coaching in themselves, and then they decided, no, I want to try to do this with some other people.
Yeah.
So right now I see your life as perfect, and I don't know. How do you move into neuro-linguistic programming and coaching? There was something in your life that triggered that? Do you move into going to that?
Yeah. So the hurricane, the storm, there was the external one, but there was a huge internal one. And in the wrath of that hurricane came an eating disorder, came a perfectionism that I just couldn't reach. The things that I wanted to reach. And the biggest challenge I had was a relationship. And I was raised in such a positive parenting and relationships all around me that really divorce wasn't the thing. So I didn't know how to get out.
Okay.
And so I had a limiting belief that you marry for life, and no matter how bad it gets, it's like that. Not that this person was a really bad person. It was just a very toxic for relationship. Yeah. And so I needed out, and I didn't know how. So I needed to go to a place called, after the hurricane, I called my dad and I was like, Papa, I'm in big trouble. I don't know what's up or what to do next. I just know I can't keep doing the same thing. Okay. And so I went into a clinic and I learned how to have a self-growth, love, acceptance of, it was by faith
Okay.
It was of knowing who I am and how tender and dear and precious I really am. And I overcame my eating disorder, which was more anorexic. It was just like a no eating or texture of foods and a distortion of my actual body. I saw something different that other people would see, which wasn't the truth. And I learned with NLP how to break patterns. And it was so powerful for me to be able to break a toxic relationship that I absolutely didn't understand how to end, and to be able to be okay with it and let it go and start my life. And that's how I got into NLP. It was personal growth. It was like learning resources. Then that's when I was like, this works. This, and that's the lifestyle. And I had to know more. I went to one session with a lady in Clearwater, Florida. By the way, many years happened between me leaving the hurricane storm and meeting my husband. There was about 4 or 5 years in between there. But my husband was the one that he was such a great friend. And he was like, listen, I think that this style of therapy would help you let go and move on.
Okay.
And so that's when I went to my first session, and it was timeline technique in Clearwater, Florida. And I thought, gosh, I've got to know more about this. And that's when I started NLP. And that was over 30 years ago.
Okay. First, now that NLP is already mentioned in the conversation, is brought up in the conversation, where I'm going to ask you to please try to define that. But before that, many years ago, I was married, and I was in the. I know that relationship, even though it wasn't bad, I needed that. I know that I wasn't in the right place, so I started going to therapy to try to define, to fix my mind, to make the choice if I was going to work on that relationship or get a divorce. Then after that divorce, I was still working on myself. And at some point I went to a therapist that she was using NLP on myself. But even though there, I wasn't really sure, really clear what was NLP. Can you explain what it really means, and how if somebody walks into a session that you're using NLP with someone, what they will see? What are you doing there?
Okay. So NLP, the N stands for neuro, and that's the study of the mind. The L stands for linguistics. That's the language that we use. And the P stands for programming, which is the way that the mind codes information that's coming in, and the way that we react, and the behavior that is created. So NLP is referred to a methodology of techniques. It's also referred to as, and the one I like the best, it's the manual for the mind. Because we don't always you can get a manual to run a microwave or a car, but you don't get a manual to understand the way the mind processes and what we do with the information as it comes in. So NLP is the study of excellence. And there was, if you want to go just short into it, the John Grinder and Richard Bandler, and they studied some excellent people. One was a hypnotherapist. His name was Milton Erickson. One was a family counselor, and her name was Virginia Satir, and she kept getting these awesome results. And one was Fritz Perls. And these people just had excellent behaviors, and they had excellent results. So these people, these pioneers, they set out to study what is it that these people do that gets the results. So modeling excellence. They started modeling excellence and started realizing that, gosh, there is an actual processing that happens when people do things. And they do things by our representation systems, which are visual, We see pictures or movies when we describe things, or auditory, which is our sounds or what we hear, we communicate that way, or kinesthetically, and that is our feelings. Now, there's two others, our senses, that are olfactory, which is, every time I smell homemade bread, I think of my grandmother.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there's gustatory, which is taste. So these are our representational systems that our mind takes in through our values, our beliefs, our culture, our meta programs, that we pass this information that comes in through these filters. So I'll put it like this. My map of the world and the way I see it is different than anyone else's, and so is yours, and so is theirs. So when we are speaking with other people, understanding that everyone has a different representation system, and how can we communicate in a way that is able to have a win-win conversation? Well, by listening effectively, we can hear, kind of like jump in someone else's experience of the world and form a match by using language patterns that they use and ones that we use, and then we're having a win-win communication.
Okay.
So NLP is the study of excellence. It's a user manual for the mind, and I train and teach.
Okay. So if I want to try to say in a more pragmatic or practical way, is like, I'm going to say, you say, if I'm right, is that all the things that you hear, that you say, that you smell, affect the way you behave. So at first you have to get acknowledgement or the knowledge of how those things happen, and then try to change those inputs in your life to change your behavior, or something like that?
So to understand, I would say yes and yes and yes.
Okay.
And to understand the way that I process the world and what I do with the information that comes in, I could go deep, but that comes into my understanding creates a behavior.
Okay.
And so understanding how I communicate and understanding how you communicate can create, there's techniques and methodologies that we can use, tools, simpler. There's tools that we can use to be able to communicate better. And there's techniques that we can use, in my case and yours, when you saw a counsel that used NLP. So we can use these techniques to overcome a limiting belief with a positive resource. We can overcome negative emotions like anger, sadness, fear, and be able to let go of the emotion and be able to find a resource that's more productive for us, to be able, a positive resource, to be able to let go of the thing that doesn't serve us and and create the outcome that we really do want.
Yeah. Is it similar or different from, you mentioned hypnotherapy, affirmations, meditations? How do you compare them to those things I've mentioned?
So language, hypnotherapy uses a style, and there's many different styles of hypnotherapy, from the Elman techniques to the Ericksonian styles, or we could go on. Language, the way we use our language through tone, texture, pacing, pausing, it is a style that we communicate. That would be one way. Being able to visualize, if we are meditating and we're seeing a picture or hearing a sound. So it would be looking something like, see what you see, hear what you hear, and feel what you feel as you meditate. And then there's other methodologies of meditation that is just like clear the slate. So it was, and you said
affirmations.
So affirmations it's more than affirmations.
Okay.
It's a negotiation. So the unconscious mind is this, it absorbs everything. It negates negatives. It only takes things in the positive. So see it, say it how you want it.
Okay.
The conscious mind thinks it runs the show, but the unconscious mind runs the show.
Okay.
Because what is its purpose? It stores memories. It
Okay.
preserves the body. It represses memories that you're not ready to possibly process. And it's like needs to have this negotiation to be able to get like a win-win. Okay, so when we have a conflict, it's said that the conscious mind and the unconscious mind are out of rapport.
Okay.
So they're not really getting each other.
Okay.
So if we can give a positive resource or an affirmation that is really, really true, that serves us, that is a learning, then the unconscious mind says, oh, I get that. And it can let go of the limiting belief or the limiting decision. And consciously, you're aware of it. And it's like, wow, yeah, wouldn't it be better to let go of this thought process and have this instead to be able to get the result that I want?
Yeah.
So it is a negotiation internally.
Okay. You say that you have mentioned that you worked a lot on yourself with NLP to try to improve yourself, to say in some way. And also you said at some point about communicating with some other people. And I can understand and how can NLP can be useful with myself, because I'm always with myself. If I pay attention, I will find what's wrong with me. I can see the things. I can see my behavior. I can feel my feelings. So I can get to know me way better. But how NLP can help me communicate or relate to other people? And also, some people may say, hey, that looks like it's some tricky thing, some shady thing. I'm trying to manipulate people. So how it works with other people?
Yeah. So one thing I didn't mention in the auditory, so we process information auditorily. And that is a great, thank you for bringing up this subject, because it is absolutely important. The internal dialogue of the things that we tell ourselves and the way that we process information. So if I am saying something to myself that, man, you know what? You're not good enough. You can't do that. Like, there's no way that you could ever, they can do that, but come on. Whose voice is that most likely? Most likely it happened. When did we develop those limiting beliefs? And could it be generationally passed down to us, that limiting belief or decision? Could it be something that wasn't even our own? Yeah. Like, okay, my grandma has osteoporosis. Okay. Now, it was said in our family, you need to drink milk.
Yeah.
However, okay, I had to drink goat's milk because I was allergic to milk. Okay, so I chose from a young age to do exercise, strengthen my bones, have a good diet, and I broke a cycle of a limiting belief that said, that runs in the family. Definitely. That could go. Okay. So I learned how to override a limiting belief and create a new possibility and a new direction for an outcome that I want, which we can do in any moment. Is that manipulation?
Oh, yeah. It's
and who am I manipulating?
No, yourself. But it's the thing that manipulation is always, the word itself, it becomes like a negative thing. Yeah. But manipulation means just handling things. Yeah.
So the cool thing is, and what I love to emphasize is that NLP is a do with process.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something like this magic like wand that is just like, oh, boom, and now you've got it, and that's it. People come in and they're like, I just do it to me. Like, no. This means that you need to, first of all, you need to be at cause in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to get results, then we're going to have to look and unpack.
Yeah.
What is your responsibility? Are you getting results, or are you giving us reasons of why you don't have what it is you want? So I want to be, if you want to use the word, manipulated any day if you're going to get me to get the results that I want. Now, and then let's clean that one up too. Because the reality is that no one, being at cause in your life, no one can do anything to you. You are in charge of your emotions, and therefore you're in charge of your results. Yeah. So I believe, first of all, do people ever use language or skills that serve them, that benefit just them? Yeah. So I think that there's a filter that would need to come in and say, if you want to influence with integrity, it's like, where does your integrity lie? Yeah. I think of a time that my husband, and he was the one who introduced me to NLP, and I mentioned it, but one of the things that he needed it for was he was seeing a counselor, and the counselor gave him these skill sets, and the skill sets were amazing because it helped him end the first strike that he had ever had in Puerto Rico in the construction company. It helped him end a strike. And the way he did it was using the common language that somebody else related to. Mm-hmm. And I think it was compañero.
Yeah.
And, and that's the word he used. And that word bridged a gap that made a connection that internal people said, wow, you get me. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that to create win-win conversations, that we need to be able to step out of our understanding and our filters of the world and be able to be willing to effectively listen to somebody else and be able to step into their understanding of the world so that we can find a way together to create the result that we want.
Yeah. It's very important to say that I think that when we talk about manipulation, mm-hmm. trying to get the things that I want, first, there are two things that I always come into my mind. The first is my intention.
Yeah.
What do I really want to get out of this? And the second thing that you already said is that if it's a win-win, if it's all to myself, we're both getting something out of it. I think last night I saw a video. I don't know if you know this guy. His name is Chris Voss. V-O-S-S. He's a former FBI agent, and he's a master negotiator and everything. Yeah. And he was saying that this experience, he was sharing this experience that he had, that he got into the airport and his luggage was lost. And he was thinking about, he was trying to get into the office that handles all the lost luggage. And most of the people that go there, they go very angry, very disappointed, frustrated because they want to get out of the airport. They don't have So he was thinking, most of the people that go there into the office, they just want the employees to have like a magic wand that you shake it and it appears.
Yeah.
So he thought about that, and he went into the office and he saw a lady, and she said, "How can I help you?" And he, knowing that what other people would like to happen, he said, "I would like you to," but with this smiley face.
Is so cute.
I would like you to have a magic wand and make my luggage appear.
That is great.
And it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And the lady, she said, yeah, that's what a lot of people think about when they get here. And most of the times while you go there is they take your information, your address, your name, your phone number. They look up for the luggage and they bring it to you.
Yeah.
But when he said that, and when the response of her, I say, "Okay, come with me. Just wait a minute." And they came out of the office, went into the carousel. I don't know, is that the right word?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the terminal where the luggage is carousel.
They both get there and say, "Wait for me here." And she climbed up the ramp and got through a hole and disappeared for a couple of minutes. And like 5 or 10 minutes later, she showed up with the luggage out of the hole. And she said to him, "Well, what about that for waving a magic wand?"
It's amazing.
And he said, "Well, thank you very much. That was amazing." But the thing is that out of that relationship, out of that interaction, he went into the office and he knew that he didn't want to make her feel bad. It's already a bad situation.
Yeah.
And he made fun of it, and they both won out of that interaction. So the intention and trying to make it win-win, it's very important. We live in a world that people feel very entitled. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah.
The customer is always right. And to feel, I don't know what to say the word. En español es indignado. I don't know how to say it.
Mm-hmm.
We have to feel a very, it's
significant.
It's like
empowered.
When something is bad, you have to feel bad about it and express it. Indignation.
Indignant.
Yeah. And it's very common on social media that people feel like, no, this should be like this, and they want to protest, and they want to make a post out of it and make a big problem out of it. And sometimes you have to myself, I think that I don't think it's my big trait or quality, but I strive to get it, is to be very adaptable. Is that a right word?
Flexible, adaptable.
I want to adapt to things, and that makes my life, I think, happier.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be.
That's beautiful.
So I remember.
And I'm curious though, because the way that he went in, I'm just breaking it down in my head. I see a little movie. And the way he went in to speak to the lady anyway, he was funny.
Yeah.
He was relatable. He changed the situation, and he changed the result by the way he treated her.
Yeah.
So it got him a whole different effect. For me, that's so valuable, of just people being human and learning how just to really honor another person and give them dignity and say, I know, especially in customer service, when people are just waiting for the hothead to come in and just blow up at them. And it's obviously not.
Yeah. I remember, I'm going to tell you this because I just remembered this at this exact moment. Many years ago, there was a record store in Plaza Las Americas. I think the name was Discomanía. I don't know. But the thing is that I always went into this store, and there was this guy that he was the most knowledgeable employee there. Everybody went there. And I remember going to that store and always seeing this guy. Years later, I found his name is Jorge Melendez, and he lives in Mexico, and he's a coach, and he does a lot of things. The thing is that I had the opportunity to have a conversation with him. I've had him in my podcast like two times. But I remember that I was going to say is that at some point in my life, I've been trying to adapt to things. There was a rock concert. There was the group Chicago.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go there, but I didn't have the money to get a ticket. And what I did is that same day, there was a Saturday, during the day, I went to that record store and I bought the album from this guy. I remember and I went back home and I listened to it. And I enjoyed it. I wasn't able to go to the concert, and maybe it was, but I was trying to adapt myself. And that's a big thing, you don't have to react to everything. You can choose the way you react, not as somebody else expects, but the way you want to react.
Yeah.
So
that's a really cool thing.
I remember that story right now when I was talking to you about, wow, I remember that concert and I went there, but so.
I have one little thing of choosing.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom,
Mm-hmm.
she has this written all over her refrigerator, and basically it's choose again.
Okay.
So if you have a thought in your mind that doesn't serve you, that doesn't empower you, that doesn't get you the result that you want, process that thought, and you have the option that you can choose again. And it's everywhere. And so we have the ability to, at any given second, choose again. It's just stepping out of that actual moment of our experience and maybe just being disassociated, a fly on the wall for a second, and saying, what else could this mean? And choose again.
Yeah. Is that the thing is
I love the concert and the Chicago and the album. I can so relate. That's awesome.
A lot of people think that life is the way it is. Yeah. And there's no way to change it. And there's the way that we react to things is inevitable. Is that the right word?
Inevitable.
Yeah. It's supposed to be like that. If people say something like that to me, I'm going to react this way. I'm going to be angry. So no, you can choose. Mm-hmm. How was choose again? You can choose again and think, because it's when you choose again, you have the power. Mm-hmm. If you don't choose again, the other person has the power.
That's it.
They said something and you reacted in a way that...
That's the difference of being at cause in your life, where you have the power, which you can get a result. I like to think my business partner, Simon Gledhill, I love this scenario that he uses. And it's great because he's like, okay, you're the director of your movie. And this is your movie. Now we can change the cast. We can, maybe that's just a little scene. And you can have a villain and you can have the hero and you can have all of it, bless you. And you can change the script. You can rewrite your story. The most important thing is in your life, when you exit right or left, who's going to be the main character in your story? And what is it that you truly, truly want? Because you can rewrite your script and your story.
That's a nice image, because I use it, but not in the same way. Is that I see people, and when I see is that a lot of people are looking for people to feel to cast people on their own story with the characters that they created.
Wow.
And people come here and then want to create this drama. Mm-hmm. And sometimes what I say is, the way that you're behaving, are you being the character of the drama of that person, of that script, or you are doing yourself? So
wow.
I always try to recognize people when they come on with the script, like they want a villain, or they want a victim on that script. I refuse to be a character in your script.
Yeah.
Even though I don't have a right one here, no, first I don't want to be there.
It's like, I'm not in the mood to play that role.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
It's
okay, cool.
A lot of people, it's like the Chris Voss example. He created a script that was helpful for him and the lady there. And he established that. And he was encouraged. He was feeling good about being in that script.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful of people who show up in your life with a script. You don't have to be a character in that person's script.
Yeah. that is truly, truly also back to being able to communicate your needs, you and the role that you're going to live, and finding the most clean version. I'm going to always be evolving. I'm going to always be like changing, and growth is my addiction.
Yeah.
So I want to learn. I want to grow. I'm an adventurous. I want to play. I want to have fun.
Yeah.
And then I have in my life, I have a faith and I have a belief that I am always in the right place at the right time. And I have what I need to say when I need it. And have the flexibility to be open to change and a shift when life happens in a different way. So when someone shows up to offer a script to me that doesn't fit my model of the world, I can ask more questions to see actually really, really what it is and where they need to go and what they need. And can we find another way to have a win-win together? And if we can't, then it's like, oh, you know, that's I'm not gonna be a part in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's a choice. So choose again.
Yeah, choose again. Choose again.
Yeah.
Angela, if we stay here, we're gonna be 3 hours talking about different things.
So fun, Cristobal. Yeah.
But I have to manage and handle the direction of this conversation. So
here we go.
What are the services that you do? You describe them. You work one-on-one, or do you do workshops or retreats or digital courses? What are the services that you have, and how do you work on that? How can people see what you do with them?
So I have had the privilege to be blessed to work with a team from South Africa, and our company is called Connect to NLP. And we offer short courses, anything from the secret, like how to be able to see to your life. Do you have a goal? Do you have a thing in your life, a desire or something that you really want to see come into fruition? And I teach a course that I just finished one just a few weeks ago. And it was giving resources and understanding, unpacking values and how they align. So we do many, many courses, and you can look them up online. But we also do certifications. So I certify practitioners to be able to go and do their own courses. And a little bit farther and a little bit deeper, what we do is we mentor. So we mentor people who come through our courses, which is really, really wonderful, because it's not like, hey, figure it out on your own. Now you have these resources. We actually follow along with you and say, listen, this would be a really neat way for you to open this way to do this. Yeah. So certifications in practitioner, master practitioner, trainers, learning how to public speak, how to stage your stage, how to use your body language, how to actually communicate non-verbally and verbally. I am certified, and I certify in hypnosis. So using language and language patterning to be able to help to stop smoking. I work out of One Heart Institute on Wednesdays. So I have clients that I work with that they either want to let go of smoking, or they want to have a different mindset in the mind-body connection, and also, or weight loss. So One Heart is an actual integrative health. Dr. Figueroa, he's actually, I'm just impressed so much with him, because he really does want to help people find a way before they have to go into medication. So they have different other resources. So I also help with mindset, and what is that mindset, and how to be able to overcome anxiety, and how to be able to set effective, realistic goals, to be able to set measurements on how you're going to reach them. I work one-on-one with coaches and with sales teams and with CEOs of companies. I go into companies also and do hierarchy of values. Where are your values in the company, and how do you create resources within the company to have Once again, a win-win. So one of my fun things is like I take CEOs and different business people and I take them on team buildings. I use some things like horses if they want to ride a horse or if they don't. That horses can teach nonverbal communication.
Yeah.
So I like to I'm a grown-up play therapist now. So I went from not just kids, but also like transferring it. Wouldn't it be fun just to be able to have fun and discover what are the resources within you that you can enjoy your journey in your script of your movie to be able to write the script of your life. So what do I do?
There is something that you mentioned there is that you mentioned public speaking in that, well, maybe you have a lot of knowledge, but you have to work on your public speaking skills because if not, you're not gonna get known. You have to talk about it, and I have a good story about it. I met you in Toastmasters.
Yes.
You joined Toastmasters, but at some point I went into my phone and I was looking out for old pictures. I was trying to get recover some storage on my iPhone, and I was looking out for old pictures. And one of the things that I do is every time that I see somebody interested in social media, Facebook, I just that looks interesting. I just take a screenshot of the profile, and then I look.
That's a great way.
Yeah. So I go back there and check out the people, go into the website, but sometimes I'm in a hurry. I just have to take this screenshot for later to do something. And when I went there, I saw a screenshot of your profile. So I said, well, at some point, I saw her and I thought that it was very interesting. But we didn't talk, and we finally met here, and that was very amazing. Yeah. And I said that because, as I said, we met in Toastmasters, and you're taking public speaking very seriously, as I do. And you're soon are going to have a TEDx talk.
Yes.
Can you talk about it?
Yes. Oh, gosh. Well, first of all, I'll address just a second of Toastmasters. And I just encourage and invite any and all people to go into Toastmasters and discover the gift of communication that you have within yourself, and to be able to really, truly stand and tell your story. And Toastmaster has just been beautiful. And the way I got to Toastmasters was this amazing woman named Manal Fakari.
Okay.
And Manal Fakari she's a powerhouse. She's such an amazing, beautiful woman that she's Palestinian, and she's just really, she fights for humanity. She's a beautiful person. And she was in a course of mine in Ocala, Florida, and she suggested that I do a TED Talk sometime.
Okay.
I was so scared. I was like, what? Like me? No. I mean, at one point in my life, I was with Tony Robbins and in an event, and I was in front of 5,000 people, and the crowd disappeared, and I was able just to talk and coach and do result coaching and work with this person, this dear person. And I was like, wow, the people disappeared. But my limiting belief was at the time, I can't do that. Stand up in front of all of this people. And I really thought no. And she said, I think that you are such a great speaker, and all you need is the confidence. I think you need to join Toastmasters.
Okay.
So right away, I am a growth junkie. I took her advice and I went to Toastmasters, and I even upped my challenge because, yes, they're bilingual, my chapter, but it's most of the time it's in Spanish, and I'm doing my best because it's a goal.
Yeah.
to be able to do this interview not too far in the future in Spanish. So in the process of the TEDx, you go through this, it's interviews, and you need to send in some speech, your idea of what you would do. And I was like, wow, it's going to be something around mindset. It's going to be something around of my story, of how I have a set point in my life of joy, and that I go to a certain set point. It seems like I might sink a little bit, but I usually go back to this one set point of happiness.
Okay.
I thought that was going to be the talk. And then I was having this breakdown with this. It's really breaking it down and talking to Manal. And Manal was like, well, I was noticing something in your page, in your Instagram. And I was like looking at it, and I saw that you went through this classic model search. Tell me about that.
Okay.
And I was like, really? Like classic model search? And what, in the process of that talk with her, I said one thing, and I said, I was with my daughter the other day, and what the classic model search is and was, it is 50 plus, 50 years old. That's the first category. There's a 50 to 60, and I fall in the second one, which I'm 60 and up. And what I loved about it, it was, my girlfriend, she called me for Carrie Dad Fernandez, and she was like, Angie, I think you should come, or like, I'd like to see you there. Come. I was like, what? Like, all right, that's cool. I want to know more people. I'm going to get reconnected. And I did. And what I loved is there was real people showing up with their authentic style, not giving a crud about the runway or the catwalk, about anything. They just were authentic. And I thought, this is incredible. So there was around 1,500 or something people, and it broke down into less. And then I was in the top finalists. So I am a classic model in the top 6 or 5 or something in there. And it was wonderful because my experience was that beauty has no age. Yeah. And my daughter, as I was talking to her the other day, she said, Mom, I love the lines on your face. And at first, it's kind of like, oh, you're noticing them. Like, at the same time, it was beautiful because her heart, and really what it was, is our lines is the canvas to our story. And it tells the fears, the joys, the sorrows, the happiness. Everything that we've experienced is a reflection of what we've truly, truly lived. And if someone wants to be comfortable and they want to do something, or they inject, or they do this or that, okay. But I know my mom and my grandmother and the lineage that I come from, what I love about them is the aroma that lingers on in their beauty, because it's wisdom. And it's truly, truly this, like this authentic person that comes out. And it really doesn't have anything to do with that external, because the external will fade. And in a world of comparisons of, it's like, am I enough? Am I good enough? Can I get up in front of people and speak and tell my story? That is an essence of my TED Talk that's coming out. And it's truly about really the real journey that happens within, that is an aroma that lingers on long after you're gone. And in a world of all these things where sometimes youth triumphs, or, someone's chasing the old days, understanding, unpacking that real new self that is constantly emerging, and really finding that love within. So it's a lot more levels. And I start my talk with, the reality is, mirror, mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest of them all? And the reality is, it's like, truly, what is that internal dialogue within? And how do we bring that to be able to see the perception and the projection of what we see in other people, and really, really, through our filters, like seeing the beauty in the process, in the journey.
I remember.
And the TED Talk is November 9th. And I'm practicing in Toastmasters. And it's in Florida.
Okay. I've been to a couple of high school reunions. And I've had the chance to see people that maybe I haven't seen in 18 years, 10 years, something like that. And one of the things that when I see some people, I can see the lines in their faces, but I can also see that the way those lines are made, are arranged, they're not happy moments lines. Sometimes I see that there's a lot of sadness or anguish or bad experiences in their lives. And I see people with the lines and I see, wow, she looks like she's had a very sad life. But also I can see people and the lines can say, no, she looks happy. He looks, so it's, lines are not bad, but I think that they show what caused them. So that's a big thing, that it's not lines, but the feelings behind those, the life's experiences behind those lines.
So we're going to age.
Yeah.
And there is I believe, my grandma, like just being able to just sit on her lap, and this is terrible, but I would play with the flab on her arm and I would be like, wait. And I loved it. And I loved her smell and I loved her laugh. And I what I saw.
And the safety that how you feel, do you feel safe on her lap?
It was so it was just a canopy of love that I was wrapped in. And my mother has that. And so for me, that is a legacy of really acceptance of who I am today. And I am a transformation all the time. And being playful and really, really enjoying it. We only get to do this journey one time, and being able to really enjoy the journey. And what is it that what do we bring to the quality of someone else's experience of life? Is it all about me, or is it about others? And I think that when we can get the focus off of our mirror and we can place that on others, then we're going to make an impact in the world that can truly, truly make an impact that makes an impact that makes an impact, and it goes on. And that is, to me, way, way, way bigger than the lines.
Angela, where can we find you? If people want to find more about your services or what you do, where can they go to find more information?
So on the website, it's www.connect, CONNECT, the number 2, NLP.com. Also, my private email is Angela@connect2NLP.com. And you can find me here locally in Puerto Rico. You can find me through the One Heart Center in Isla Verde. Also, my Instagram and my Facebook. You can message me. So I'm Angela Lightfoot. And then on my Instagram, I'm Angela_Lightfoot 414, which is my birthday.
Angela, thank you very much for this conversation.
You are awesome.
What I like about this podcast interviews is that sometimes I've had friends for many years. And every time when you have a friend or you know someone, you talk about things that are relevant to that moment, but you don't get the chance to start a conversation. So, from the beginning, and you get to know a lot of good things about people when you have this conversation. And it was very interesting to know a lot of things about you with this conversation. So that's what I really appreciate. I really value these conversations in this podcast.
Thank you. And I'm going to flip this mic one of these days. I am blessed though in Toastmasters.
Another payback interview.
In Toastmasters, though, we do really get to unpack stories and tell who we are. Actually, that's one of the big reasons that I asked you to be my mentor in Toastmasters, because I saw all of your excellence and the way that you provide excellence and the way that you actually speak and you take and you're passionate about it and you're passionate about other people too. And I love that. And so I invited you, asked you, begged you, will you please? Because we were in that district competition. And you really helped me in setting myself up. Yeah. You're amazing.
What I like about being a mentor is that being a mentor means that you have to be better. Yeah. You have to improve yourself so you can help somebody else. So there are a lot of people that I've been mentoring that, like you and like Elisa Schneider and some other people, they push me. You push me to be better because I have to. It's more of the basic things. You have to improve yourself to be helpful to some other people.
Yeah, it always keeps us at a higher standard. So I'm so glad that I get to just always keep you at a higher standard because I'm a lot of work. So thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Angela, for this conversation.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Thanks once again to my friend Angela Lightfoot Redondo. I hope that my English was good enough for have this conversation and make it very interesting to you. And without further ado, we'll meet in the next episode of Nos Cambiaron los Muñequitos. Hear me next time.